Hello and welcome to Randoms. We are back with Amabishop.
Yes.
Well, Emily, greet our people and please subscribe and like our videos as usual. We always give the best. So, Emily, can you greet our people?
Hi guys, welcome back to Randoms. Today we're coming at you with a review for Amabishop. Please subscribe to the channel and like the video if you like this kind of content.
Yes.
We'd really appreciate it.
Yes.
Okay, so now bakhuluma ngemali. Sidana nemali, imali nabafundisi, and how their sermons are always operated and made to convince you to give your money. Desperation of the congregants is what they titled this episode, and they are going to talk about how we are so desperate and why we have given our lives to pastors as Christians.
Yeah.
Now, there's a woman who had a hidden identity, and she talked about they had blurred her face. She didn't even want to show her face, and she's talking about how she gave money to Bhushiri.
She was basically scammed.
She gave
Allegedly.
300,000 rands. Allegedly. She gave 300,000 rands after Bhushiri walked in on a sermon and said, that man over there gave 500,000.
The assistant, wasn't it the assistants of Bhushiri that went in and said that?
Yeah, the assistant. They're like 500,000 and he will be blessed. And
Okay.
she was like 300K.
Gone. And that was a pension fund.
That was her
after
pension fund after
resignation.
she resigned
So
from her
she
job.
said she
yes.
gave half of what she got. That means she got around 700 or so.
Or 600.
Or 600 for pension fund. And then you go on and give half of it away.
Internet banking. She made the transaction in the church at that instant.
That got us talking. And I think my first... I think my first direction would be to look at how much power does these pastors have on people, and the power of playing your mind. So when someone comes in and say, let's start with your mother. Your mother comes in and compare you to your sister. You always want to surpass your sister. If that is the case, it invokes something. That thing that should tell you want to be superior than any other person. So when this assistant came in and said, this guy has gave in 500,000, you're like, I have that money in my bank.
I want to match that.
I want to match that money.
I want the blessing.
Yeah. And the problem is that we are looking for these miracles. You think that you giving that 300,000, you're gonna be blessed and you'll be able to recover that 300,000.
But that's the conditioning. That's what the pastors make people believe all the time.
Is it an issue of pastors or the issue of Christianity? It came with confirming. You have to conform to a certain way of thinking, a certain way of behaving, and then Christianity brings calmness on someone. It wants you to obey, in a sense. It surprises me when you find your activists and everyone else still succumbing to Christianity, because Christianity is more like what they are running away from. They say they don't want culture because culture is oppressing, and then you go to Christianity. It's the same narrative. It's not even the same thing, but Christianity came with these people that wanted us to actually conform to a certain way of thinking. And I'm not going to say Christianity, the Bible way, because we had Christianity before. I would say Christianity, no, not Christianity. We had the religion of believing that there is someone above.
Yes.
In my culture,
Higher
they will call him umveliqal, meaning someone who came first. It was there. But now someone comes in with this document that now tells you how to think, and if you read these books and you keep yourself, or you start thinking like the way Bo Job they're thinking, like the way Bo, it brings that thing of say you cannot rebel.
Conditioning.
It conditions you in a certain way of thinking.
Okay, she says that she gave this money in 2019. In 2020, during the panoramic, she came to her senses and she realized, oh my God, what have I just done? I gave half of my pension fund to this pastor. She did not think about her kids. She did not think even about the home loan that she had.
And that was the initial thinking, that I will take half of this money and put it on that home loan to reduce the payment. And all of a sudden, you just give the rest of it to some pastor who happens to bring miracle.
She does admit that she was vulnerable and she got a church. That's part of the reason why she went to a church. Her emotional state was not healthy. She had just gotten divorced. She went to this church, and in this church, a fellow elder betrayed her in the church, and then she left the church instantly. She went to
Another
ECG.
church. I wonder what is the criteria of choosing these churches, because your spirit should have that discernment when you choose these churches, and you should have. Yeah, you want to say something?
That's where the grief, the hurt, the emotional vulnerability comes in.
Maybe we have used churches for that in the olden days, but now churches of today are more
Business.
faster. It's business.
It's a business. Accept it when I go high.
You go to a church and you are vulnerable. It's like going to a boyfriend after being dumped. You are still vulnerable. So it's either you are going to burst or that boyfriend is going to play you because you are vulnerable. And same as the church, you can run to a situation where people are thinking in a certain way. They're only thinking about themselves. Church has lost that touch of being the area where you feel comfortable and safe. Now it's an issue of watching out for yourself. So if you go to that church and you give yourself to that church after being hurt, you are going to end up doing things like this woman that gave money away while knowing that there's nothing else after that.
Her daughter is angry at her, is what she says. She doesn't understand how her mother could have given away so much money. She doesn't even have a car. She said, I couldn't even think of buying myself a car first. I gave away that much money.
Maybe you will find that even the daughter cannot now further her studies.
She's 17.
It's very sad. It is very sad. And the money will never be refunded. She tried. The money can never be refunded because this guy is just, I'm sorry to say, it doesn't make sense for me to push her. Because if you are really a good pastor and someone tells you, and there's a
that
proof
I've
of that, mistakenly deposited
this much and I need it.
And you promise them that you'll bring it back and you don't. And yet there are people who still believe that the guy is really a good pastor. There are people in South Africa who still leave this country and go and fellowship with this man.
Well, Onimrod asked Mercado, how is this possible? You know, Pastor Mercado, the one who was talking about the book, The Church Mafia, his book. He was talking to him and asking him, how does this actually happen that a person would just lose their senses like this? And he comes in with information and he's saying that before while he was a charlatan, he used to blow a horn before he went to preach at the church or give a sermon. And there would be muti that he puts in his mouth just to mesmerize and to make everybody fall into a trance. There's also something that some pastors bury in the pulpit so that every time they stamp their foot there, it's commanding. It's a commanding spirit. When he says, go and get me this much money, you will go and even borrow money.
It's you know, some of these things are not new. They didn't come with other African countries per se. For instance, putting something on your mouth, it has always been David in South Africa. When our forefathers used to go and
To war.
and no, Bioshela.
Oh, Bioshela.
And they would use such. I mean, there were those ladies who were very stubborn, who were not willing to actually give them a chance. You would take some muti, some of it called umlomo mnandi.
Umlomo mnandi.
You would put it on your tongue. When you
I've heard it
speak, you
before.
become this. When they listen to you, now your voice is sweet and everything else you are saying is just correct, which is the same thing that these pastors are using these days. Unfortunately, now it's mixed. It's a mixture of African herbs at large, because it was just this country. Now they go out and find other African spirits. Now it's a combination of spirits. Now they easily manipulate you. They easily manipulate. Some of them, they use it for you to fall. So it's there.
It's there, guys. It's
when
there.
when you hear someone
Wake up.
When you hear someone a color, Emily, making some noises, those things I've seen them firsthand. When a woman is, if you are refusing to actually be my girlfriend or my then I would
What
put,
happens?
I would put Izizwe on you. Izizwe is basically a combination of spirits. You would just fall and you start talking a lot of things. Izizwe, they were used by our forefathers again. Those who were working in Johannesburg, they would leave their wives maybe in KZN or some of them in Eastern Cape. They would use Izizwe to actually protect themselves against a wife cheating. So if you cheated, you would, when I come back, you would just fall and you'll be on a trance. You won't hear yourself saying these things, but you will tell me exactly what happened. So when you see these people in churches falling, it's still the same thing. They put spirits on you. Is this way? It's spirits, different spirits. They put spirits on you, and then you fall. You start talking in different languages. It's because these spirits, they actually are created through many. It's either graves. There are many things that they use for Izizu.
Yes.
So when you fall, when I touch you and you fall and you start speaking.
Because I'd always wonder why. At some point, guys, I've also been a part of these churches. I also thought maybe now God is not working on me, because every time I would fall, I would not be talking to myself.
I guess it's either your ancestors were fighting.
Like nothing like that would happen to me. Like
the issue of Christianity.
When I would be pushed, okay, I would allow you to push me and I would try and fall, but I would never do the or the rolling or the yeah.
The issue of Christianity took away what guided us as Africans. We were guided by our ancestors. And through umvelinkali wayekhona vile, even in the olden days. When there was no rain, our forefathers would go, our grandmothers in fact, would go to the mountains and pray to this Mvelikal. They would at some point give some gift there. And then there will be rain when they come back. But all of a sudden, it's miracle now to do those things. All of a sudden, something
there is a miracle waiting for you.
So it's true, they created somebody, and that somebody now has sort of opened the door for everyone to become
a pastor, a prophet.
Yeah,
everyone is a prophet now.
So it's very disturbing. Continue.
Well, Pastor Matep was talking about the desperation and the pressure for this real need that people might have to be met every time they walk into a church, or they believe that a certain man of God, if they can just see him, if he can just pray for me, everything will be fine. And he says that as people, we also have to have discerning spirits, the ability to discern spirits. Ungodly spirits have access to you in that vulnerability. When you open yourself up and you are desperate, even ungodly spirits have access to you.
Yeah, that is true. When you are in a situation or in a darkness,
like grief,
you
for
are
example.
yes, you start doubting God.
Yes.
And as you do that, you open the doors to other spirits.
Yes.
So it is true what is saying. There is that chance of you actually being vulnerable and ending up making decisions that would actually cost you your life, because you have opened the doors to spirits that have been yearning on having your spirit. And then when they get that chance of grabbing it, they make sure that they seize the chance.
Well, during lockdown, Bhushiri's footage of him printing receipts and proof of payments of money was played. And I remember laughing during that time. Little did I know that there were actually people who were taking him serious.
Like this woman. It's very... I'm surprised that people don't know how to pray anymore. They need someone to pray
for them.
Why do you need someone to pray for you?
Because you feel like you can't pray for yourself, especially if you're going through a difficult, dark time. You feel like you need two or more are gathered in my name. You need extra assistance.
But it's because you are not in your spirit, Vele. You were not in your spirit.
So what would you advise someone who's going through hell right now and they feel like they need someone to pray for them?
If you read your Bible, God is more closer to you when things like that happen. Like if you have lost your husband, God is more closer to you. Do you understand? Even if you do not pray, you just wait patiently. The problem is us wanting to fast forward time.
Things.
We want to. You want
the
to go past
to
this
go
feeling.
away. Yeah.
Yes, and you are in a hurry for it to happen.
Yes.
But the healing is a process. There is no shortcut to this. So others now, they decide not to grieve their husbands, or they go to church. And
no, it catches up with you.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
It catches up with you. You'll feel like there's bad luck around you, but you skipped an important step of grieving.
Mm-hmm.
You skipped it. You decided to fast forward everything. It always comes back and haunts you in some way. So it's best to just go through it. Makutiwa khala ukhale.
Yebo.
Makutiwa memeza. Makutiwa sit in a corner and cry. Do that.
Yebo.
God is with you even through that. I think that's something that we don't want to believe. But God is with us even through challenges, even through darkness, even through the moment where you feel like you have done so much wrong that it's unforgivable. God is there within you.
Now the problem is these churches have come in and said they've changed their rules.
Yes.
Like the issue of grieving. Some churches, when you grieve, you don't grieve. They say you celebrate death. And you ask yourself,
celebrate life.
Is it? Yeah. In which book is that? Which book is that?
There are some pastors who are even as extreme as saying that they do not. You know, there are churches, guys. Compare the churches, our traditional churches, and these churches that are new. You never or hardly hear of any announcement about funerals. Why don't you ask yourself? But what happens when my loved one passes?
But Emil, when someone when Jesus died for people, there were people who grieved, right?
Yes, Mary Magdalene was crying.
Yes. So what has changed from that? Which this new Bible that came in and decided that now it is correct for people to not grieve.
To not talk about death. I don't know.
It's a way of conditioning people. Because you are a tool. So if you decide to go and grieve, for example, and go home, you are running away with money that I could be getting as a pastor. So I must keep you in this church. If I tell you not to grieve and tell you that you need to celebrate, yeah, you're gonna give that because you're grieving. You are broken inside. So you are going to grieve, but grieve differently
And
while
they
you are vulnerable.
also came with this belief that when we go we shouldn't be going to the graves of our loved ones. They instill that, which is something now that I'm older and I'm grown up and I'm like, what is happening? Because what I just found out as well about certain cemeteries in Nigeria is that people don't visit their loved ones. People don't go after their loved ones have passed away. So allegedly what happens is they recycle bodies in one grave. So they take out this body, and then now when they come with their doctrine and their beliefs here, and they're like, when you go, you shouldn't go to the gravesite to be praying. But we never pray at graves. We don't do that when we visit graves.
But this is where it also disturbs me. When, again, Jesus was to be woken up, didn't they go there on where they actually...
He was in a grave, the stone thing in a cave. That was the graves of back then.
Yeah. So what has changed? That's I'm still going to ask that question because people are expecting these pastors to be a dictionary of spirit. They are now a dictionary of everything. And remember, I said last time, for you to prophesy, it does not necessarily mean that you have a spirit of God. You can prophesy with a spirit of this earth that you bought.
That you bought, you did say that.
That's why there are many Zangomas now. That's why there are many. It's there. You can buy it.
Well, the anonymous woman said that this thing haunts her. Okay, she went to Bhushiri's Instagram page to ask him to reimburse the money she made a mistake. And Bhushiri said he was outside of the country, allegedly. And then he took her numbers and said she must converse with him on WhatsApp. And he kept saying that I'll get my people to be in touch and fix this and help you. She even went to the Midrand branch, and when she got there, the people there also couldn't help her. So at this current point in time, she still does not have her money back.
She will never have it. So I think that's it. She will never have it. She had to go through past that thing. Unfortunately, and this is a money that could have changed the family.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's fine. Continue.
Well, now they also converse about this thing of having psychology and church.
I think the
becoming
psychology
one.
part it's the same thing, man. What pastors do, it's part of it's psychology.
A lot of people need to remember this. Pastor Chris has a PhD in psychology.
Yeah,
A lot of people don't really regard that, but he has a PhD in psychology. And part of this fashionable church trends that we're seeing now, he was one of the first.
So unfortunately that people won't...
as much as there's
But-
also
but
witchcraft,
being-
we also have to accommodate that part that there's something that they are doing.
Yeah,
in your
it is-
mind.
it is psychology, because this churches, come on, it's hypnotism. They hypnotize you. They speak about money. They speak about success.
They
speak about
condition
money,
your
success.
thinking.
Yeah, money, success, money, success, money, success, and they tell you to make friends with people in church, and those are sisters who. It's psychology, and people who have PhDs, people who are very educated, they succumb to it.
Uyibuza ukuthi kwakwenze njani mama uthatha imali yakho engaka.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Continue. Let's not waste time.
Yeah, okay, now Pride Hlongwani is another one of the victims, but her story is a little bit different. She said she had marriage problems at the time. There are people that her marriage was not working out. She was struggling to conceive, and her husband was not exactly being a participant in the marriage. So she decided to go out and to this church, and then this pastor said, I can pray for you. Come back with 1,500 rands. I will pray for you, and all of these problems you have will go away. She did that. She came back, and she said she must come back with stuff that are from her marriage. So she went back with a marriage certificate and a piece of clothing from the husband. At the time that you are being asked to carry even pieces of clothing, I am thinking consultations with the Sangoma now. I'm like, at any point in time, doesn't it cling to you that this does not sound godly?
No, it doesn't, because you don't read the Bible yourself. You just read what the pastor tells you to read. If it happens,
Like taking someone else's clothing. That's not normal.
Yeah, it is not. But because you are not, remember, for you to beat something, you need to first understand it. So if you are going to succeed in becoming a certain Christian that is maybe closer to God, you need to read all this Bible. And as you read it, you need to have that spirit of discernment. Because even the Bible itself, it might be that some of it is twisted. It is not a gospel truth of what happened.
Except that it was written by people.
But as I say that, I'm going to say again that you do need to read it to be able to understand all the corners that anyone can use.
Yes.
It's a very universal book that can be used against you, or it can be used for your own benefit.
Or it can help you.
Yeah.
Pick up some of the dodginess that you may come across, especially in the church. It can also help you. But when you read it, don't read it as in like, I know pastors also like saying this, it is God. The Bible is not God. It's not.
It's an experiment of someone with, it's an encounter of someone with God. And then you have to believe that person had an encounter with God.
Yes.
So
and their experience written down. Same way as an article about a particular experience that someone else has.
Yeah.
That writer of the article is not the person that's experiencing that.
And you see, the problem with people is that they read this Bible and they jump some books. So if your marriage was of God,
in the first place,
you wouldn't have had to go through this, or you would have to go through this because there were people in the Bible.
But you were gonna trust God.
But you were gonna trust God.
That whatever outcome, whatever happens in the end, you'll be fine.
Now people trust God after. So that's when now they come to people who are very open for scamming people. And you go in there with that hope, and you come back more broken.
Ish. So she's saying that nothing got fixed. She still has problems with conceiving, and her husband came back for a while and left.
She's not saying nothing. She's now saying nothing God fixed. She's not saying nothing the pastor fixed, because her hope was basically on the pastor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Makado also warns, Pastor Makado Uguti, every time they say a seed, just run away from that church. They want money. Because when you literally bring them physical seeds, they are not going to take those seeds. They want money.
That's true. It is true. So the very same root of evil has become now the seed of the church. That is where you see that church has become this thing that it was not meant to be.
And there's also another point that Pastor Makado brought in, that he saw a picture on Facebook of Bhushiri in a bicycle and then saw him in another picture on a private jet.
It's a psychology.
And he's saying that it's like a branding. He branded himself. He's this most powerful man that came from nothing, and people want to believe in that. And also pride supports what he's saying, because he was like, if the pastor I went to was looking poor and somehow, I wouldn't have believed that he would solve the problems that I have. So how he packaged himself as well is the reason why I fell for the trap.
Yeah, it's the branding and also the power that the confidence it gives you when you see this pastor in a bicycle, and then all of a sudden is flying on private jets. But what you are forgetting is that for him to fly on private jets is through people that is actually scamming.
Exploiting.
Yeah.
And I came from rags to riches story. You know, that story, even celebrities use it a lot.
They use it so that you can relate to them. So the pastor is basically bringing you closer to him. You can relate to me, even though now I'm kind of superior. I would put it like that. But you can relate to me because at some point I used to ride a bicycle, and this is how I used to look. And I would believe that's a picture that was not released by him directly. It would be released as if it's being leaked.
Yes.
And then so that it comes, and then he comes to church and counter that, in a sense that, look at what God has done to me.
It's all a plan. It's all a scheme. It's all a business model.
And it's functioning properly. And then to come within this business and to think that we are going to break it somewhere, somehow, it will take years.
Yeah. True.
So that is it from our side, guys. We are not going to go deep, but again, please like our videos. We are just chatting here, and we are not looking to attack anyone.
No. And if you've had experiences, leave your comments down below. Your comment might just save someone who's going to enter this well and find themselves in a situation where they are not understanding what's happening. Maybe it will make sense if you just share a bit of your journey and your story if you've been through this with the church. Help someone.
Well, that's it from our side, and that's a bye from us.